What's up, everybody? In the last couple of lessons, we've been talking about resonance, which is the utilization of the space in the mouth and throat to be able to control the tone and volume of our sound when we're singing. Today, we're going to be talking about how to do it. We're going to talk about terms like ring and singing in the mask. But first, let's go back to our basic definition of what resonance is. Resonance is how we make ourselves heard. A resonant sound can achieve an astonishing degree of volume. This is how an opera singer can be heard over an orchestra without a microphone. There are sciencey reasons for why this happens, which involve how frequencies interact with bodies of matter. But with today's technology and microphones, why should resonance matter to us? While it's true that with microphones, we don't necessarily need as much resonance as an opera singer in order to be heard nowadays, it's still a very, very helpful element to incorporate into our technique. The reason is that resonance makes singing efficient, because instead of working harder, you're allowing the spaces in the mouth and throat to amplify the sound for you. We like easy singing. And while there are a ton of amazing pop and other contemporary singers nowadays who don't necessarily rely on resonance, especially with the increase of popularity of kind of breathy, quiet styles of singing, those singers will ultimately be limited in the variety of sounds that they can produce, both in terms of the volume level and the tonal variety. Resonance allows for more versatility. We like versatility. So we've looked at how the spaces in the mouth and throat are important for resonance. And we've talked about how changing the shape of these spaces can contribute to having a bright or a dark sound. But what exactly does it mean to have a resonant sound, and how do you make one? First, a resonant sound is easy and not forced. It relies on the mouth and throat to have an optimal shape at each pitch in order to create consistency in tone and volume throughout one's range. Let's break that down. Think of a grand piano. A grand piano has a resonator, or the body, that never changes shape. You can play a note loud or soft, fast or slow, but the tone of that sound is going to stay relatively consistent no matter what you play. This is because the shape of the resonator is consistent. Now imagine that on top of each pitch that the piano was playing, it had to somehow create words. This is where the voice is radically different from most other instruments. When we sing or speak, every single time that we make a different vowel or consonant sound, our mouth changes shape. Let's take it back to kindergarten and let's sing the alphabet song together. But as you're doing this, think about what your mouth, tongue, throat, and jaw are doing every time you go to say a different letter. Here we go. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me? Did you notice what an endless amount of changes your tongue, jaw, mouth, etc. had to make in order to produce every single one of those different sounds? So when we talk about having a resonant sound, we're talking about trying to find the optimal shape of the mouth and throat for every vowel and consonant sound at every pitch, in order to have a consistent sound across our entire range. Otherwise, the notes fall kind of in and out of this resonant space, and what can happen is that the singing has a different feel and sound in different parts of the voice. Now, while this can be great for stylistic reasons, we want to make sure that if we're going to do that, it's on purpose. Once again, resonance allows for versatility. You can choose to have a different sound in different parts of your range, but if you want to choose to have a unified sound, resonance gives you that ability. Now, with every other type of instrument that you can hold or touch with your hands, the resonator generally stays the same shape for the most part. And you can also have another person, maybe a teacher, looking from the outside, telling you how to play with the best technique. With singing, the whole mechanism is inside the body, largely out of view. And so we learn to sing primarily by sound and by feeling. Practically, this means working through every sound really, really slowly and trying to memorize that feeling of things being consistent on every pitch, on every sound throughout your range. This might mean breaking down a song that you're practicing and singing it very, very slowly, trying to isolate every sound and make sure that the sounds are lining up throughout the piece. When we sing completely relaxed, with good alignment, good breathing, and all the other elements of technique that we talked about. And we get all the spaces in the mouth and the throat to sort of line up in the right shape at every pitch. We get this thing that a lot of people often call ring. Ring is this open, vibrant, full quality that can come to a sound when it moves freely through the body with no resistance. Here are some general tips for singing with good resonance. As we breathe in with that deep, low breath, the jaw typically should rotate down and maybe a little bit back. Your tongue should rest gently just behind your bottom front teeth, sort of around that ridge where your gums meet your teeth. And the throat should feel super relaxed and open. Let's try this. Pretend somebody just asked you a question about something incredibly complex, like quantum mechanics, and your response is, huh? As you say it, feel the jaw drop and relax. Huh? Feel the tongue rest behind the bottom front teeth. Huh? Feel the throat nice and open. Huh? Then, as if you've suddenly understood the answer to the question, we're going to inhale deeply and say, aha! Try it. Aha! So we've got these two things, huh? Aha! Now, in place of aha, we're still going to take that kind of enthusiastic surprise breath, but instead we're going to sing ee. So we've got huh, e. Here we go. Huh, e. Let's do it again. Huh, e. This is a great exercise to get everything relaxed and allow those open spaces to cultivate a resonant sound. Now, people will often describe a resonant sound as one that feels and sounds in the mask. What is the mask? The mask is this area sort of around the eyes, at the upper part of the cheekbones, maybe the lower part of the forehead. It's where you would put on like a masquerade mask or like scuba goggles. Often a resonant sound will be accompanied by the sense that there are sort of vibrations or focus in this mask area. Now, we've talked a lot about vibrations. We know that in the lower part of the range, there's vibrations in the chest, and in the upper part of a range, there's vibrations more in the head. But there's sort of this simultaneous feeling that even in the lower part of the range, while there's vibrations in the chest, I still feel this sense of focus right here. And even in the upper part of the range, there's still this sense of focus right here. This idea of where we feel the vibrations, of course, is not a science. That is, it's different for every single person. And these are just descriptors that we've kind of learned to use over time to help people understand the way that singing might feel to them. So let's do an exercise that might encourage that focus in the mask. Imagine that you just smelled a delicious scent coming from the kitchen and you say, mmm. Do you feel those vibrations kind of in that mask area? We're going to use the M sound and then we're going to transition to an E. And when we move from the M to the E, see if you can maintain that sense of focus in the sound. It's going to be like this. Try with me and go. And this is a great exercise to help transition that obvious sound in the mask that happens on the and use it on a vowel. Other sounds that are helpful for this are N, NG, and also lip trills. As always, with this exercise and with any other exercise, never force or push anything. Make sure everything's nice and open. We're taking that low, deep breath. In the next lesson, we're going to talk about vowel modification. Let's break it down in the next lesson.